Thank you, Linda, and thank you all for joining me for this ICPSR Data Fair webinar. My name is Anna Ovchinnikova, and I'm a user education and support specialist for SEAD. Today's webinar will help you learn about data services offered by the SEAD project and demonstrate how you can easily publish data directly from your SEAD project space to Open ICPSR, ICPSR's research data sharing service. As always, we are interested in your feedback and strongly encourage you to ask questions. So please type those into the question field, and we'll leave time at the end of the presentation for questions. So let's begin. For those who are unfamiliar with SEAD, briefly about the project. The SEAD project is supported through NSF's DataNet program and is led by the University of Michigan in collaboration with Indiana University and University of Illinois. SEAD provides researchers working in a broad range of physical and social science disciplines with easy-to-use tools for managing, sharing, and publishing data, designed to support researchers through each step of data lifecycle. SEAD's secure access controlled project spaces make managing, organizing, describing, and collaborating over data simple. When you decide to publish and preserve your data, SEAD's streamlined publication workflow will guide you through a publication process that doesn't require a lot of extra effort to submit your data for publication in a long-term repository. The SEAD project was launched in 2011, and most recently we successfully released our first production version of SEAD 2.0 at the end of July. Building off the previous platform, SEAD 1.5, and the feedback gathered during our beta release of the new platform, SEAD 2.0 represents the next generation of end-to-end data services for managing, sharing, curating, and publishing data. Among SEAD 2.0, many exciting new features are things like on-demand creation of project spaces. SEAD users can now easily create project spaces with a click of a button and publish their data sets directly from their active project spaces to SEAD's long-term partner repositories like Open ICPSR. So you may ask, who can use SEAD? If you're a researcher who are working in a physical, social science area, working collaboratively in a SEAD environment, in a team environment, anybody who needs a secure central workplace for their data, if you're looking for an easier way to share, publish, or make your data public, SEAD is a place for you. Researchers increasingly need access to reliable tools for managing, sharing, and publishing data. And many research teams out there right now are challenged to find a centralized way to manage their team's data during the course of their project. They use services like shared service space or Dropbox, but those tools do not allow the type of annotation and metadata adoption, in addition, that scientists do need in order to be able to understand and find their own data. Additionally, when you want to publish your data, you effectively have to engage in a separate set of steps to prepare and submit their data for publication. And SEAD is an answer for these problems. Using SEAD project spaces, you can incrementally add, organize, and describe data with metadata over the course of your project. And when you're ready, submit your data sets from your project space in SEAD for publication in a long-term repository, saving you time and effort of having to organize and describe your data again at the end of your project at the time of publication. So SEAD project spaces are like Dropbox, but better for scientists. SEAD project spaces are secure team-controlled work areas, and each project space has a public-facing homepage, which you can add your own branding to. You can invite your team and others who you'd like to share your data with and assign them appropriate roles and permissions. And if your goal is to publish your data at ICPSR, you can potentially invite ICPSR's professional curator to your project space to help guide you on how to best prepare your data for archiving at ICPSR, which metadata are required, and which metadata are recommended to ensure that your data are discoverable and reusable. As long as SEAD recognizes the file types, it will auto-extract whatever metadata it can from within the files, things like file size, creation date, location, and SEAD uses plugin infrastructure that allows you to easily connect existing extractors for video, geospatial, Office, and other file formats. And SEAD also allows you to add your own custom metadata, which you can add incrementally as you collect and upload your data. Also in SEAD, you can make your make individual data sets in your project space public, and I will explain this option a few minutes later. And finally, when you're ready to publish your data and need a DOI for citation, you can easily submit your data for publication directly from your project space in SEAD to long-term repository, and all it takes is a click of a button. SEAD allows you to set your own standards in your project space. You can add your branding, as I mentioned, to your space, customize metadata options in your space, and even point to external controlled vocabularies that then would define which values are allowed for a specific term. And you can attach metadata at different level of hierarchy at dataset level or file level. To upload data to SEAD, you start with creating a data set, and you can either browse through files or simply drag and drop your files anywhere on the page. And once your files are listed on the page, you can upload them individually or all at once. You can delete some files from being uploaded at that particular moment. And each data set and file you upload to SEAD is giving a unique and persistent URL that can be linked to directly. A data set can contain any number of files in any format, and data sets are the primary organizing structure for files in SEAD, and there also are publishable objects in SEAD. So when you are ready to publish, you can submit your data set for publication and have SEAD's matchmaker match you with a repository that can preserve your data for the long term. Data sets can be further organized with folders and subfolders, and there's no really limit on how many folders and subfolders your data set can have. One thing, though, to remember that repositories often do have a limit on how deep the hierarchy of your data set is. Open ICPSR has no such limit. In terms of sharing your data sets across project spaces, by default, data sets are only accessible to users who created them. You can choose to share your data set with a project space that you created or have access to. Another option for sharing your data sets is for you to copy your data set to project spaces where you have access. And you can copy your data set an unlimited number of times to project spaces where you have access. So I mentioned making your data public earlier. You have the option of making individual data sets public, and it's a great option to easily share your data if you don't have to publish it. Project space administrators can set the entire project space public in SEAD if necessary. There are simple toggle mechanisms that you see on the screen, one example, that allow you to switch the access setting from public to private and back. The making data public option is quite different from publishing data. It allows anybody to view and download your live data that live inside your active project space. Your public data sets will change over time when you update and further develop that data set. And obviously, those public data sets are not assigned DOIs, which you would need to properly cite your data. So this is not a solution for preserving your data and making it available for the long term. SEAD makes it easy to manage data. You don't have to worry upfront whether data in your project space is good data or bad data, correct or incorrect. When you're ready to publish, then you can decide which subset of data in your project space you want to publish and easily construct that data set which you will be submitting for publication by moving files from one folder to another, from one data set to another. And SEAD allows you to add free-form tags and custom metadata, and you can use them to search and navigate around your data, helping you to be more effective, efficient with managing and working with your data in your project space. SEAD also makes working with the data easier for supported file types, which are basically any commonly used file types out there. SEAD provides thumbnails and in-browser previews. Thumbnails help you quickly navigate through your data sets and files. And with previews, you do not need to download your files to see what's inside. You can play back videos and audio, navigate between spreadsheets and an Excel workbook for files like PDFs, Word documents, and PowerPoint presentations. You can flip from page to page. SEAD offers the ability to see a map overlay of your geospatial data sets. And if your data set contains multiple geospatial files, you can actually see them all on a single map. You can also turn those data layers on and off and adjust the opacity of individual layers. Furthermore, each data set and file you upload will have their own information pages that will include the auto-extracted metadata, as well as the custom metadata that you and your team can add. To facilitate better organization of data sets in your project space, SEAD also provides the option to create collections. You can group data sets into collections and sub-collections by topic or by any other meaningful attribute that will help you in your work. And as you can see in this simple example on your screen, one data set can belong to an unlimited number of collections. So I hope I was able to help you see that SEAD provides many useful options for you and your team to effectively collaborate around your data in SEAD project spaces. From sharing data sets with your team's project space and copying your data sets to project spaces, to describing your data with custom metadata and free-form tags, and use them to search and navigate around your data, being able to have conversations around your data, being able to work with in-browser previews of your files. You can also follow people and data in SEAD and see related updates on your dashboard every time you log into SEAD. SEAD's publication process can literally be initiated with a push of a button, and depending on the repository chosen, be completed in an entirely automated workflow. Publication in SEAD involves automated data and metadata review and a submission to a long-term repository working with SEAD, which have documented policies and practices for preserving data, and assignment of a persistent global identifier, in most cases DOI, digital object identifier, that you and others can use to cite your data. SEAD also automatically registers all published data with the Data One Federated Data Catalog, which provides faceted search over data from a broad range of projects. The important difference about SEAD is that it allows you to incrementally upload and describe data over time. So SEAD is a place for you and your team to work and collaborate over your data during your project. And when you're ready, you can decide which subsets of data in your project space you want to publish. The unique thing about SEAD is that it works with multiple repositories and can help match your data with an appropriate repository. So you can decide, for example, to publish data that are directly tied to publication one way, and then separately publish the larger set of raw data to make them available to those who maybe want to really dig into your research. And you may even decide to publish data that are not perfect for historical purposes. The publication process in SEAD's new platform, SEAD 2.0, is easy and streamlined and allows you to quickly address any basic issues that may prevent your data set from being accepted for publication. For example, SEAD will inform you if a required metadata field is missing, if your data set exceeded the total size that can be accepted. And SEAD will take care of sending the data out to the repository and will provide you with feedback and status updates. So you may ask, what exactly happens when you push the publish button in your project space in SEAD? So when you decide to publish your data set, a frozen copy of your live data set called curation object is created in the staging area of your project space, where you can make final adjustments to further prepare it for publication. Any changes you make to the curation object in the staging area will not affect the live version of that data set in your active project space, where you can continue working on it and submit new versions for publication over time. There are 3 easy steps that will guide you through the workflow in the staging area. Step 1, you can choose to remove some files or add additional metadata. And when you're satisfied, you move to step 2, where you review the feedback from SEAD's matchmaker and select your repository. SEAD's matchmaker recommends repositories for publishing your dataset and provides instant feedback on why the dataset would or would not meet the requirements of a given repository. And at any time, you can go back to step 1 to address a particular issue pointed out by matchmaker. How does SEAD's matchmaker know which repository to recommend? Each repository working with SEAD creates a profile in SEAD system where it specifies its requirements, for example, domains of interest, any required metadata, accepted data formats. It may indicate options related to embargo, retention periods, license terms, any other aspects of their curation and preservation processes. SEAD's matchmaker performs automated data and metadata review and uses this information from the repository profiles to recommend the most appropriate repository for publishing your data set. And finally, step 3, you click Submit to send your data on a path to publication. At any time, you can go back to the staging area to check the status of your publication or see a DOI for a previously published data set. Often, once the repository receives your request for publication, it will initiate the publication process, which may include additional steps for you to take. The repository can send you an email and invite you to log in into their system to complete the process. But the most important thing is that you've done the work in SEAD, and those final steps can be very quick and easy for you to complete the process. In a few minutes, you will see how requests for publication from SEAD to Open ICPSR are submitted and processed. And once the repository publishes your data set, it will assign your publication a DOI which you will be able to see in the staging area of your project space. Your publication will also have a landing page, like the ones you see on your screen, which others could use to access your publication. The way the landing page will look and how it will present the information about your data set depends on the repository that generates your publication's landing page. SEAD utilizes standards-based archival format and assembles the data using a parallel zip archiving library with an internal index when packaging your data set, which helps to minimize demands on the repository system with lower memory and disk space requirements. And these are important for larger data packages, allowing repositories to store them in a way that does not require retrieval of the full archive to retrieve metadata or individual files. So you will be able to download individual files without downloading the entire publication. SEAD can be utilized in data management plans. Through SEAD-enabled data management plan, researchers can increase their research efficiency, promote its visibility, and meet institutional grant requirements. If you're a new user planning to include SEAD in your data management plan, we would love to know about your project and if there is anything we can do to help you get started. So please reach out to us if you plan to include SEAD in your data management plan. We will now transition to the demo portion of the presentation. So I'm going to switch my screen here to go to the website. So on your screen, you see SEAD's main website, seeddata.net, where you can find lots of useful information about the project. Very briefly, I'd like to draw your attention to the publications and presentations page, where I'm going to be posting the recording of this webinar once it becomes available. You can also subscribe to SEAD updates on the website to be notified about upcoming events and new features being added to SEAD. So I'm going to access SEAD 2.0. Well, I'm going to log out so you can see how exactly that would look for you when you access 2.0 for the first time. So I have an account and I'm going to log in. I'm going to use local login, and you can see that there are other options that SEAD supports through Google, Facebook, Twitter, and Orchid. I'm taken to my dashboard where I can see the recent events. I can see the project spaces that I created using these tabs, data sets that I created, collections that I created, any followers. I can also quickly access my profile and update it. If I need to, I can quickly create a new project space, a new data set, or a new collection. There's also a top main navigation. By the way, clicking on a SEAD logo will always take you back to your dashboard, but also under this new tab, there are the same links to take you to your dashboard, to the project spaces. Well, actually, this particular link works slightly different. It shows not only the project spaces I created, but also the project spaces that I have access to. Same thing with the data sets and collections. And I can also explore SEAD in general. I can see any public data out there, all the project spaces that are in SEAD currently. And this Create tab is a quick way for me to create a new project space, a new data set, or a new collection from anywhere on the site. So I would like to start with showing you a project space that I was planning to use for this demo. I already have some data loaded, some data sets, as you can see, and some collections. I'd like to draw your attention to this set of links on your on the right side of my screen. I can use these links to manage users in my project space. If it's a user that already has an account in SEAD, I can use the autofill function here to quickly find the person and invite them, automatically assign them a role. As you can see, there are 3 user roles that project spaces provide you by default. A user can be an admin, an editor, or a viewer. So I can just simply add someone to a particular role and click submit. And this person will be sent an email notifying them that I just added them to my project space. I can also invite someone from outside, someone who doesn't have a SEAD account at this particular time, by including their email address here. I can also include some message and at the same time assign them a particular role. Also, if someone noticed my project space and my project space is private, and they requested an access, I will see any requests for access under this tab. I recently logged in with my other email address to show you how this works and requested access, so I can accept or reject and also assign a role. So I'm gonna make me or this other Anna a viewer, and I'm gonna accept, and you will see that I've been added. I can that easily remove someone from having access to my project space. So other things that I can do, I can edit my project space. I can change its name, modify the description. I can add additional external links. This kind of like part of the branding along with the logo and the custom banner that I can add to my project space. And here's that cool toggle mechanism that I can use to instantaneously change the access setting for the entire project space. Currently it's set to private. I can very easily make it a public project space. So if I log out, I will be able to see the data in my project space if it hasn't been specifically set to be private. So yeah, actually I wanted to show you how that would look. So I'm going to log out and explore project spaces. Actually, this is a great example. This is a public project space, and it has, so this is a public-facing page that has some public data sets on it. So I'm gonna log in back. Okay. I'm gonna go back to my demo space here. Another cool thing you can do in the project space, as I mentioned during the first part of the presentation, that you can actually fully customize metadata options in your project space. And this is the link for you to do it. You click on Manage Metadata, Terms and Definitions. I can easily delete any of this metadata options, just like that, or I can add a new one by giving it a label and adding it to the options, metadata options in my space. And in terms of adding metadata, as I said earlier, you can add metadata at a data set level or at an individual file level. So for example, this particular data set, I have some files loaded, and I can add metadata to the entire data set by using this feature here. I can also leave comments for the entire data set. I can add tags. I can also go into the specific file inside my data set. By the way, this is an example of a video, courtesy of one of the projects using SEAD SAN. So thank you. Oh yeah, but the thing is, I want to show you, these are the options for me to add metadata on the file level. And I can also add a comment on the file level too. In terms of previews, working previews, so like for example for this PDF file, I downloaded a codebook from the public study, ICPSR study, so you can scroll through the document, actually go through page to page, let us say. Another interesting thing are the geospatial files. I want to show you that. So for example, I have this geospatial file that has a data layer. I can change the opacity, I can zoom in, move the map around, and because there are two geospatial files here, I can go into the visualizations tab, and so unfortunately in this example the layers are not in the same area, but I can point you, this is that other file, like if I turn the map off, you can do that too. Here's one layer and here's another one, and you can zoom in and go to you know, specific area to examine it. This one, for example, and change individual opacity of this particular data layer. Oh, another one. There we go. So let's go back. Well, I'm going to go back to my project space. So one thing that I'd like to do is to show you how to publish a data set to Open ICPSR. So I have this example of a study that we loaded to the demo project space for this demonstration. It has some study documentation materials, codebook, survey instrument, observation guide, and survey data. So we loaded some metadata here already, as you can see. And there's a comment, we have some tags, and I can also see some previously published versions. And these are links that can take me to the staging area, which I can show you as well, just very quick before we publish. So there's a link here to go to the staging area where I can see all my curation objects and the status and the dates when I submitted them for publication. And I can go into each and one of them and see the status, see the update. But we can look more closely when we actually publish this data set. So I'm going to click the, so let's say me and my team worked on this data set over the course of the project. We've done the work. We assembled it the way we wanted. So there's a metadata on the data set level. We also, we also, so this is the data set level metadata. We also included some metadata on the file level. So for example, for this code book, we have some file level metadata. So, and yes, now we're ready to publish. All I have to do is to click on this publish button, and I can give my curation object a name, another name, so it will be easy for me in the future to find it. I'm gonna add my name as a creator. Oops, I spelled my name correctly. And create my creation object. Now I'm in the staging area. And these are those 3 easy steps that I was describing before. So here I can decide to add more metadata. For example, I can add another contact. I can maybe go and delete a particular file for some reason. I'm just going to do it just to show you how easy it is. And let's say, yes, that's all I need to have here. I can quickly move to step 2. And this is where I interact with SEAD's matchmaker. I can review the live feedback. Currently in SEAD, you can also do a test publication if you want to do just a test run, see how things gonna look when you actually real publish your data. We're gonna do real publication to publish to Open ICPSR. So in terms of matchmakers feedback, this is where you see the different messages, and because I was so good managing my data over the course and over the project, and all the metadata is there, and the Open ICPSR likes all the other aspects about my data set, like the file types, the size, the affiliation, which actually for Open ICPSR, it doesn't require a particular affiliation. But here's a simple example what the warning that I'm breaking some rules would look like in SEAD. And by the way, we're improving how this review looks. So in the next update that coming to 2.0, this will have a better presentation, this information. So so I do know that I want to publish to Open ICPSR, so I can choose this repository and go to step 3 to review the summary and click the submit button. Here I am. So at this point, I can go to the staging area to see the status, see the update, see if the publications process has been started. And here I am seeing that the processing will begin. I can click the update button to see if there's a new update, and great, it says that ICPSR received this deposit successfully and tells me to use my profile with my ORCID ID to log in to their system, Open ICPSR system, to complete the process. Wonderful. So I can grab the link, just so we can quickly move there. And I already logged in because I played with this before the demo today. And you can see that my files are here, and the metadata that I've been working on in my SEAD project space been nicely packaged into this ORIMAP JSON file. So because again, the beauty of this is that I've done my work, I don't have to do anything else. My files are here, my metadata is here. All I need to do is to click the publish this project button. Again, this is just for verification purposes, for final review, and I can proceed to publish my data set. Open ICPSR asks me some additional questions here. Again, this is an example how SEAD works with the repository, that at this point, repository can have their own standard process, the steps that they want the users to take. So I'm to answer these questions, whether I have any identifiable information in my data set, any sensitive information. I'm going to say no, no, and I'm not interested in any embargo period, and I'm good with the deposit agreement. And I can just click yes and publish my data set. So usually we do need to wait a few seconds for things to go through, but in my staging area, I can actually quickly see that, hey, it's been already published, and here's my DOI. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my presentation here to tell you about some new features that are also coming to 2.0 very soon, and those are bulk operation capabilities for you to be able to move and delete and apply metadata and geotag your data to several files at the same time. And to also set relationships between data sets. So you would be able to say, this data set is a newer version of that one. This one has a description in that other data set. And there will be also some improvements, display improvements, as I mentioned, some of them already related to matchmaker review, display of metadata as well. And comment alerts to be able to see notifications when a comment been added to data that you created or data you have access to. So we're going to pause here for questions. And I'm going to invite Dharma Ekman, who is the Associate Director of SEAD, to join the discussion. Let's see, we're going to pull up that questions window. So let's see. So the first question we have here, does SEAD have precautions to stop restricted data from being shared and uploaded to Open ICPSR? Well, as you know, Open ICPSR does ask you during the final steps. They do raise a flag and ask you to tell them if there is any identifiable or sensitive information that you're uploading. And if you say yes, I think at that point they will ask you to stop the process of uploading the data to Open ICPSR and contact them for additional steps. Dharma, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I would like to add in that we really want to leave this up to the repositories themselves to manage. So SEAD has made it flexible enough that repositories can implement their own rules and safety checks on this matter. So it's up to Open ICPSR on how to manage and ensure that restricted data doesn't become shared or uploaded to their system. They could implement, for example, if they wanted to, they could implement their own system to check things over before they get input into the system. But SEAD doesn't do that. We just enforce what the repositories would like us to do.
Okay. So the next question here is, do you know of any curricular uses of SEAD project spaces? So for teaching methods, class learning, the principles of survey design by creating a survey. SEAD is such a flexible system that it can be, I can see very easily being able to be used in the learning in a classroom environment. So as far as I know, it hasn't been.
We had one example a couple of years ago of a class that used it. It was an ecology class in the School of Natural Resources here at U of M, and they were doing a project that was learning-oriented that connected students who were studying ecology with local land managers in the Ann Arbor area to connect the data that they were creating in the class as part of their learning process with the land management people. So that's the only curricular use that I can think of, but I think, like Anya said, our system is flexible enough to allow for that, and we would welcome something like that in the system.
Mm-hmm. Does SEAD cost anything to use? Currently, there's no fee to use a SEAD, and currently the repositories that SEAD is working with doesn't require a fee to publish data.
Yeah, I would just say that if you have data sizes that are beyond the sort of, right now I think we say that if you're going to upload more than 10 gigabytes of data, to please let us know. because at a certain point we have to keep buying more space to accommodate that. But we don't have any fees right now for using SEAD services.
Another question here, how would you distinguish SEAD from the Open Science framework? I'm not familiar with all the aspects of the Open Science framework, but I can say that the SEAD difference comes from this, from its philosophy and its unique model of allowing you to use your project space over the course of the project. You don't have to worry about having like correct or incorrect data. You can make decisions about publishing anytime you want. You can decide what data you want to publish anytime you want. And SEAD works with multiple repositories that can help you match your data with an appropriate repository at the time of publication. So I think this creates the unique difference.
Yeah, and I have two things to add to that, because actually we get asked this question quite frequently about comparison to other resources. So we began kind of looking at them and picking them apart so that we could highlight the differences. And I think there are two main ways that we differ from Open Science Framework. One is the connection to institutional repositories, so that when you're done, you can easily transition your data to a long-term preservation environment without a lot of extra work. I don't think Open Science Framework has that concept at all right now. And I think another way is that we have pretty sophisticated metadata management, so you can customize what fields show up in your space so that you can manage how people on your team should be putting metadata to annotate the things in your space. Whereas Open Science Framework kind of just has a set of what they have, and you can't really customize what things show up as optional fields for metadata.
Okay, well, and the next question here is, for what length of time will SEAD be funded by the NSF?
Right now we are entering into a no-cost extension. So the DataNet program, which is the vehicle that we're funded under at the NSF, the period ends at the end of this month, September. We have remaining funds that we plan to spend down in a no-cost extension over the next year. And during that time, we're going to be working on a sustainability plan and a transition plan for SEAD going forward after that. So the current NSF funding ends sometime in 2017.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Alma. I think our time is up. I wanted to show you SEAD's contact information here. Oops, let's see. As my last slide here. And I want to thank everybody for joining us for today's webinar. And again, if you have any questions, if we went through any topic too quickly, please reach out to us. Again, you can see SEAD's contact information on your screen. We always welcome user feedback. And I wanted to thank SEAD users who are always supporting our project, and especially the SAN group, who I'm sure are attending today's webinar. So thank you, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.